Good morning, everybody. They didn't give me a remote mic, so I might switch off and yell at points. Can you hear okay there? That way I'm not tied to this lectern. Open up a water. And I bet people are going to be showing up for the next 30 minutes because it took me about 30 minutes to find this doggone room. Good Lord. And how about the huge screen? Man, so it's like setting up a drive-in in here. Anybody in here playing with auto subscription by chance? Anybody have it in their markets? There's a few of us out there, not a lot, but we'll definitely have some fun with it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Kevin Frye. I'm the e-commerce director of the Jeff Wyler Automotive Family, one of our nation's top 50 dealership groups. We are based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And I'm excited to kick off Digital Dealer with you today, talking about one of the most edgy things out there, and that's auto subscription services. And I'm going to tell you, I gave away 6 months of my life launching this doggone thing in Cincinnati, and I've got some of my team members up front. It's a very complex endeavor, but I can tell you what we're finding is incredibly exciting. I am going to intentionally only go about 25 minutes, maybe a hair over, because I want to leave time at the end for questions, because the biggest thing I've learned about doing this is that people have a lot of questions. But let me start out with this. This is me packing for Digital Dealer last fall. Does anybody have the same problem? It's like your animals think if they get in a suitcase, you're not going to leave or something like that. A lot of you guys probably been following me around thinking, that's a pretty cool mohair jacket, Kevin. Not knowing it's all the animal hair that's getting in my suitcases I pack. But before you think my animals love me this much, this is a more realistic picture of what it looks like in our cabin when my wife is not home. Essentially, I do not exist. They just look out the window and wait for that glorious moment when she comes through the door. But I want to share with you a story about a neighbor we have up the street, and she had some new puppies. English Springer Spaniel pups. So she calls my wife, because she knows my wife's an animal lover, I'm going to come out from behind this, okay? She's a big animal lover. Hey, do you want to come up and hold the puppies and do all that? Of course she does. And she probably holds every puppy while she's there. And when she comes back home, how do you think our dog receives that? What if I were to tell you I have some actual video footage? Let's take a look.
Hey, Kiss. Are you jealous I went to go see the other dogs? Please forgive me. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's called #snub. It is a reality. And unfortunately, what I found is we have tremendous consumer excitement about auto subscription in the area. But you know who we're getting snubbed by? Other dealers. And so I'm going to ask this morning, please have an open mind. You don't necessarily need to feel threatened by this. I want to challenge you a little bit as we try to become better in automotive. And I'm going to encourage you to hashtag through the session. If you're tweeting, we can talk a little bit more about that. But what I'd like to do is open up. I'm going to have several video clips. I'm going to open up, actually, I think. I'm going to talk to you about Wyler FastLane, our auto subscription program that we launched in Cincinnati, but I'm also going to talk to you about some of the different OEM and third-party programs that are out there. And I'm going to share several short video clips of people talking about it to keep it a little bit more entertaining. And with that, I'm going to open up with a video clip from our initial launch day with Wyler FastLane. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. We gotta hear you on the recording. Gotta get you on the mic.
U.S. Navy training, they can hear me, so.
I'm sorry, we gotta get you on the mic.
All right. So with that said, I'm convinced that to be successful in the future, dealers need to be able to provide affordable transportation solutions. So I talked about this last year when I was talking about construction, but what I want to talk about a little bit more is take this from that above. And think about this. When most people buy a car, they're making a sacrifice. And you're thinking, kind of what exactly you're talking about. Think about the last time you bought a car. And I went in, and let's say I wanted to get a nice gas-efficient stand for going to work each day, but I know that I go on weekend trips, I go to Florida on vacation, I got to haul everybody so I get that big Chevy Suburban. Or, let's say we're a young couple, and I want to get a nice sports car, something like that. And the other example I was sharing, so let's say we're a young couple. I'd love to have a sports car, but we just had those young kids, right? So I probably better get an SUV, some type of more utility vehicle that's more reasonable. God forbid I get into the minivan, right? And then I turn around and I have to finance that vehicle. What is the average amount of months for financing today for a car? Who knows? 69. But we got people doing 60, 72. There's people doing 84. The leases are getting longer. And what is happening is our people are getting in a situation where they have one car that they're stuck in for a long term, and it's very inflexible. So is this really a great consumer experience? Because they get that new car, and they get that new car smell and experience for about a week, and in about a year, 2 years, 3 years, like, oh my God, I hate this car. I'm convinced that auto subscription provides affordable and flexible mobility solutions. And what I like to do is share with you a video clip from our number one, our very first customer, Jerry, talking about Wyler FastLane. And then he killed my car. Here we go.
Today I'm excited that I have an all-wheel drive vehicle for a trip I'm taking. So that's one thing that basically it accommodates whatever trips or things going on during the week that you might have. Pretty much accommodates you to not have a fleet of vehicles, which I had 2 or 3 vehicles before. I'm going to try to minimize that through this program. It's pretty sharp. And it's nice and shiny, and it's going to get a little bit of snow on it, but looks pretty hot.
Would you believe that a lot of our initial customers already had their own personal fleet of vehicles? That's actually one of the things we run into. They sign up, they get accepted, but they want to wait till they sell off the cars because they've never had anything like auto subscription. So Jerry had 3 cars. We had one guy had 5 cars. He has a sedan, he has a truck, he has a sports car, he has the perfect car for every occasion. So what are we doing with Wyler FastLane, the first ever auto subscription service in our market? It is a month-to-month agreement. You can cancel at any time. You can even pause it. Let's say I'm getting ready to go to Europe for a couple months with business, pleasure, whatever the case may be. And you have one payment that gives you access to an entire garage full of vehicles. We have sedans, we have trucks, we have SUVs. What am I missing in there? We've got the full spread of vehicles in there. We got minivan if you want to do a family trip. We pretty much have everything across the board. That monthly payment includes all of your insurance, maintenance, and taxes. If this is your primary car, you don't need to carry any other auto insurance. It's all included in there. Also included is a personal concierge and roadside service. When we exchange a vehicle with you, we call that a flip, so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more. But every time we flip a vehicle with you, this person is going to be learning more about your personal needs and desires for the vehicle you want so that we can get better with the service. But ultimately, this is what we're allowing you to do. We're going to ensure that you have the perfect car for every occasion. So you can be driving that sedan during the week, and you can switch to a truck if you've got to do something on the weekend. My wife is a customer. We pay full rate. We're all in. And we just had some 2 couples we went out with to celebrate my birthday, so we got a really big SUV to accommodate everyone. You just do it from the simplicity of your phone and get it the next day. This is the biggest thing we've seen. We are making driving fun again. I've never seen anything like this because what is happening is it's like these people are getting a new car experience every couple weeks. Our subscriber flips an average of 2.5 times per month. Every time they get that car, it is gassed up, it is cleaned, it is detailed, and to them, it's a brand new car. Believe it or not, we have multiple subscribers that when their car gets dirty or when they're almost out of gas, they just hit their phone, they flip, and they get another one. They don't even go to the gas station. We'll top it off. They do pay for their own gas, but that's how simple we make it. But let's talk about some of the OEM programs that are out there. I'm going to do my best because I'm going to tell you I have changed this presentation 22 times. That's how fast the news is moving in this market. Audi On Demand came out in 2014, technically calling themselves the first. You could choose a car online, get it delivered. It's really to me more like a high-level rental than an auto subscription. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that, and that's only available in San Francisco. But how many of you in here have heard of Book by Cadillac? Right, so they're looking to expand. With that, you apply for membership, you select a vehicle. It's $1,800 a month for 18 flips per year. It's only available in LA, Dallas, New York, and similar to us, it includes insurance, maintenance, and taxes. Right now, they are not including dealers in this, and that's one of the big dealers' concerns. So at NADA, they indicated if you're a Cadillac dealer, which we are, you can get a substantial referral fee if you put someone in the program, but they still haven't indicated if the local Cadillac dealers are going to service the cars, whatever the case may be. But they also said they're going to expand. So with Cadillac, it's going to be kind of a watch and wait type of scenario. Porsche by Passport, only available in Atlanta. They're using the same software platform as us, Clutch. They have two tiers, $2,000 and $3,000 per month. They are including the local Porsche dealers in Atlanta right now, and they have indicated that they want to prove the model first in Atlanta before they can then go out and expand it to other Porsche dealers. Canvas. With Canvas, you have 1 to 12-month terms. You can lock in that price after a year. These are 3-year-old used cars, and you have 3 components to your monthly fee. There's a subscription fee, a vehicle fee, and then you buy how many miles you want to have per month. By the way, with Wyler FastLane, you get 2,000 miles per month, which roll over. So right now, my wife has like 7,500 miles to carry in whatever she wants to do. That's only available in San Francisco or LA. How many of you in here have heard about FAIR? Is somebody from FAIR here today? They probably don't want to tell me. I'm going to your session at 1. Is it 1:30? This should catch your attention. And so think about this. With this mobile app, I'm going to encourage you to download this app. You can instantly get pre-qualified for a loan or a lease, buy the car from the comfort of your phone. There's no long-term commitment. You can return that car anytime after 5 days' notice. And guess what? You can add insurance. You can bundle the payment. And FAIR doesn't own the inventory. It's ours. What happens is when they sell the car via the app, they come to us and they buy the car. Scott Painter with TrueCar, we know him. He's a genius at raising capital, and they have raised about $1 billion. This is going to be a pretty big deal. So I'm going to encourage you. I just saw their name, I think, on the book. If they have a booth or something, I would certainly stop by and learn a little bit more about this. And then some of the other OEMs that are out there that are indicating they're going to test this year, BMW, Lincoln, I can tell you Mercedes-Benz has been very supportive of what we're doing. They are testing in Germany this year, and then they indicated they're going to test 2 cities in June of this year. And their goal is to have the Mercedes-Benz dealers included. Any Mercedes-Benz dealers in here? Yeah, so that's been pretty impressive. They're very cool on the financing and the fleet end as well. So what are the pros and cons between a program between the dealer or the OEM? And I'll sum it up. So hey, when you do a dealer program like Wyler FastLane, we have a greater selection of cars. You're not just locked into Cadillac or locked into Porsche. We have every car that we carry available to you, and we will even buy outside of what we normally have. But the OEMs are limited to their brand first selection. So we have some more flexibility. Most of the dealer programs have unlimited exchanges. And the OEM programs, depending on which ones you're looking at, might be once a month. There's one is once a year, 18 times a year with Cadillac. But here's the one that I think about, because the reality is if we scale this, we have to manage the risk of owning that fleet of vehicles. Who in here was around in 2008, 2009? Oh yeah, and what happened to GM and Chrysler with all those leased vehicles and residual values, crap the bucket? Same thing. So as a dealer, we have to bear that risk, but the OEMs are probably much better positioned to do that. And I foresee in the future a marriage of our efforts between the OEMs and the dealers in looking at this area. But here's our biggest challenge, and also my biggest disappointment for a lot of dealers, because I've done some online webinars, I did Auto Dealer Live, and I get dealers on there saying, well, our mid-level tier is $950 a month. So access to an entire garage of cars, your insurance, your maintenance service, all your taxes. And they say, well, that's horrible. Who would pay that much money? What is the average car payment right now? $509. And the average lease payment's floating around $500 now. It's like $400 in 2015. So $509. But this is what kills me. How can I be talking to dealers that forget that in those car dealers, somebody put a down payment, someone traded in a car? If anybody should know about the true cost of car ownership, it should be us, right? So you know what we do? We take them to Edmunds, to their total true cost of car ownership tool. When I plug in one of our cars, so Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, we put brand new in our fleet, I get that total true cost to own. I divide it by 60 months, and guess what I get? It's $944 a month to have that one car at 15,000 miles a year versus our program of $950 a month with 24,000 miles and access to an entire garage of vehicles. And by the way, our car is never going to be more than 2 or 3 years old. Do you think it's affordable? I would say, hell yeah, it's affordable. Why don't we see what Raj has to say, another one of our customers.
The idea of getting the cars, like, and switching out of cars, driving different cars every other day, it thrills me, and that's what I'm all about. I'm a car guy. This one, I particularly love it. I love the Cadillacs. They're comfy, they're luxurious, and they're nice.
So our customers just love this concept of being able to have access to all these different cars. And think about it. If you're going to buy that Mercedes-Benz, you know that's your total true cost of car ownership. Why would you lock in one car for 5 years? No long-term commitment, getting an auto subscription and do it. So what's the next angle I look at this? When we look to test this, and I look at our market today where traditional retail has been disrupted unbelievably. That's what I talked about last year. And we look at the companies that are most successful in today's market. What do they have in common? They are outstanding at being consumer-facing. And that was the message I was putting out last year. We have to become more consumer-facing. And I believe with auto subscription, this really allows us to do that. Now, this next customer, I think, is actually pretty cute. It would be my wife, Julie. So let's see what she has to say.
I think I'm most excited about the fact that I'm never really going to have to worry about maintenance on my car again, oil changes, really washing the car. It's going to come to me clean and filled up with gas. When I walked outside and I saw that red Mercedes, I was just so excited. I haven't driven one in a long, long time, and I'm just very, very excited to drive that as well as a lot of the other vehicles as well. I'm Julie, and this is Wyler FastLane.
So now I want to talk to you about the most fascinating component that we're trying to test here, and I hope it catches your attention. Because haven't we all heard it's about personalizing the customer experience, right? The software platform we're utilizing, which is called Clutch, has a very strong AI component, and this is how it works. For the first 10 to 12 times that you request a car, and it takes less than a couple minutes of your time, we're going to manually assign a car to you, whether it's the SUV, the four-door Jeep, whatever it is you want. But every time we do a flip, what's going to happen is you're going to get a survey, and it's going to say, what did you like about this car? What did you not like about this car? When the concierge comes and meets with you, he or she's going to ask those same questions. He collects that data. All of it is combined together. And what happens around the 10th, 11th, 12th flip, we hit a switch, and the AI is going to know what you like when it comes to your vehicle needs. So when you go next time, for example, and you request an SUV, it's going to know that John likes a black SUV with a third row seat. Here's his preset stations. Here's the stuff we need to move from one car to the next. That's where we're really trying to get at. But I'm going to take that another step further, because think about this. All of us in here know, or should know, that OEM loyalty is an all-time low, right? And I'm glad to see some of my reps in here, but I got some news for you. Dealership group loyalty is at an all-time low. So let's think about the reality of this situation. When I sell you a car, I am going to be thrilled if I can touch you 2 to 3 times per year after that to keep in touch, right? And that is hoping and praying that you actually come back to service the car at our dealership. And that's hoping and praying even more that the salesperson actually walks back to the service drive to talk to them, right? What if I were to tell you with auto subscription, we're touching these same people 2 to 3 times per month in a non-adversarial environment, and they love us. We're giving them a new car experience every 2 weeks. Do you think that might solve a loyalty program? Or a problem? That's a big thing we're looking at. Here's another angle. Special finance, and we actually had a case. Someone that does very well, makes 6 figures, but things happen in life. You run into a medical situation, a horrendous amount of medical bills, and you have to declare bankruptcy. So what are your options? Subprime financing, subprime leasing. Is that cheap or is that expensive? And how is your choice of vehicles? What if I were to tell you that you signed up for our program and within 24 hours he was in a brand new Mercedes? Think about this. What is our risk? We charge your credit card up front for the month. If the card doesn't clear, you're out of the program. The number one component that drives whether or not you're accepted into our auto subscription is our ability to insure you as a driver. If you have a bad driving record, you're probably much going to get knocked out. We do have a credit component, but when you look at the type of exposure, it's not as great as you might think. But what were the biggest questions we run into? I'll tell you, the one thing we didn't anticipate, the number one question we've got since we launched is when is the upper tier launching at $1,500 a month? We literally have a waiting list for people that want to get in the upper tier. In fact, I know a lot of people in our mid-level tier are going to jump ship when we launch that. So we're looking to do that in July. But the reality is there's been a lot of things that are coming out, and I'm going to open up questions in a couple minutes, that have opened our eyes to things we haven't seen. But one of the biggest things that has really surprised us, and myself personally, I have never seen this much excitement in my career about something in automotive. Let me give you an idea of some of the press coverage we've had.
Wyler FastLane, which is a car subscription service that allows people to get a different car delivered as often as they want for a set monthly price.
And it's unbelievable. And you say, well, how can they do it? Well, it's basically you get like a different new car every few months.
What this does is it includes taxes and insurance. Think of what you pay in car insurance. So not a bad idea, you know?
You know, I have my video producer from my e-commerce team here. How about a round of applause for Dan? It's a good thing they like those videos, Dan. We picked up coverage from most every local radio station, TV station. It's syndicated nationally. I got a call a few weeks ago. I thought it was a prank on a Friday from the NBC Today Show producer, and they flew out on Monday and come out all day and filmed. So that segment hasn't ran yet. This Facebook thing, I guess, keeps bumping it. I talked to her earlier this week, and they're going to pick it up on NBC Nightly News, too. Once again, I've never seen this type of excitement out there, but it's really got people rethinking the traditional models of car ownership. So let me wrap up. Why do I think this is going to work? It's consumer facing to the nth degree. I think we're really bringing a higher level of satisfaction to our customers. It's flexible, no long-term commitments, no stuck on one car. And I hope I convinced dealers that it's affordable, because this is our number one challenge with consumers, is we've got to get them to look at their total cost of car ownership before they make a decision. I'll say this. You heard me speak last year about disruption, and the message I was sharing is that self-disruption combined with strong leadership is the answer to our future. I don't know. I could be here a year from now, 2 years from now, and this thing might not work. All I know is that if that's the case, the lessons we're going to learn are going to be absolutely invaluable. But at the end of the day, we're making some aggressive moves to lead in the market to try and find some better, affordable, more flexible solutions for our consumers. If you like that so far, I'll take a round of applause. Let's do this. Let me open up the questions. I'm going to have to repeat your questions because that's what I really want to help you with today. So who has my first question? Alex Jeffson, front row. You know, that's the question that I'm not going to answer. So in fairness, I'll tell you now, for the few people that are out there doing it on the business models, we're all doing it a little bit differently. I just had a great conversation with someone in the back that's looking at this. The reality is I went through 82 different pro formas before I decided on a business model we wanted to pursue. And there are so many different angles. Just think about this for a second. I'm a separate entity. I could buy from my stores at MSRP and they make money in the front and I won't depreciate them, or I'll just depreciate the living daylights out to them, feed them those cars back on the back, and I'm making money, right, as the dealership and make that a losing entity. That could be a strategy. Or maybe I buy it at cost on the front, but then depreciate it and give it back to them favorable at the back. Maybe I do buy MSRP at the front and then force them to take it back. There's so many different things. But Alex, listen, in fairness, when I answer that question, so if we risk millions of dollars and figure this out, should I just give it to everybody here to go out and compete with us?
I have a reframe of that.
Oh, okay. Let's hear the reframe.
So here's the reframe. With the way the industry's changing, everybody's moving up, pricing and things that nature, the margins will cut down. Do you see it as effective a business model as pricing up front, or more effective in terms of the amount of growth that you get? Instead of getting into specific, when you compare apples to apples, all anything will everything stay like it is. To subscription models, or half your subscription and half you're not. What are your thoughts on in terms of how you play out?
The most complex part of this model, I'm going to tell you right now, is the residual values. It's the depreciation aspect. And I can share from our perspective that a car doesn't enter the fleet without already having an exit strategy, and we are tracking those residual values on a weekly basis. I mean, that's key. And right now, these software platforms, their weakness is they don't have a built-in residual value analysis tool. And we're literally using vAuto to try and pull in and manage that. This is another reason why you might have seen that people have spoke about rental car agencies moving into this market, because they excel at residual value analysis, and they see this as an opportunity as well. So, yes, Chris.
Can you talk about the size of your subscriber base and what the fleet size looks like to manage that? So we don't have to
Sure. So Chris is asking about the size of the fleet versus the amount of subscribers, and this is the key performance metrics that you have to measure. So when we started out, we had 45 cars for 30 people. But think about this. In a perfect world, if I had 100 subscribers, I'd only have 100 cars, right? A 1-to-1 ratio. And that ratio is what you have to manage, the amount of cars per people, because the less cars you can do that with, the lower the ratio, the less your money is tied up in that fleet, the capital. Starting out with, though, you're going to have to go a little bit fat. And now as we're adding people, we've already brought that down to 1.3. I think we can get that down to about 1.15 within a year. And that AI, by the way, really is a key difference to enable you to do that. Anybody want to take a guess on the one type of car that we had to buy more of, that we failed to stock enough of? 4Runner? Give me a class. Sedan. So this is one of those things like, okay, where did this come from? Because what's the worst performing car right now? Everything is light truck and SUV sales are rocking the world, and sedans are not doing well. So why all of a sudden do I put in my fleet and I'm short of sedans? And I'm still trying to figure it out. Is it going back to that same question of sacrifice, that someone's like, I'd like to get a sedan, but I probably should get an SUV or a crossover because it's more utilitarian. It's going to make more sense if I'm stuck in it for 69 months, whatever the average financing is. So, next, in the back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a great question. And at this amount of inventory, we're a very large group. So, I mean, we can bear that amount of risk. But for us, and she's asking about what happens if you have a fleet and then you see the market tank like 08, 09, and you get stuck with those residual values bottoming out on you. Our concern is coming into that, let's say it's a few years from now and this is wildly successful and we're up to 1,000 cars. Now, I have got a lot of risk. A lot of people don't realize that in the United States, we're fairly unique here, that when you lease a car, the OEM holds the paper on the car. You realize when you go overseas and lease a car, most times the dealers hold the paper on the car. So they're having to manage that residual value, right? With that understanding, I know that some of the OEMs are considering where can we partner in this relationship where they could manage the fleet aspect of it, which they do very well, and bear that risk at a higher level that we as dealers probably cannot. We are very early into this. Like, I think I'm number 3 or 4 that launched in the country, but that's one of the things we'll be looking at in the future. Great question. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the simplest description of our demographic would be upper middle class do-it-all family. And we've actually been very successful. I have Kelly Perani on our social media team, and Kate Frost also works with us. We almost exclusively work social media to promote our subscription program, and we have spent next to nothing outside of a little YouTube TrueView to generate all of our activity and get excitement on the program. And what we're doing with that is we're targeting that basic demographic on Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case may be, to try to put the message out. Once you get people out there and driving is when the referrals start kicking in. Because think about this, if you're at you got the kids down at the soccer game and Betty comes rolling in a third different set of wheels in as many weeks, you're kind of like, all right, what the hell's going on? And she's going to start telling you about Wyler FastLane, and they're actually some of our best marketing, just telling people how excited they are and how the program works. It's like an aha moment when you tell people about it, like, I don't get it, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. Next question? Yes. It's going to be different in each vehicle. I mean, I'm going to tell you now, I'll give you a good example case to follow this too, but we're looking at the type of vehicle we're bringing in. It has to have some sex appeal, very candidly. I mean, because if you're going to jump in a program, they want some exciting rides that they can do. But we have to balance the depreciation rate. If it depreciates really low, our acquisition cost is probably going to be a little bit higher. But then as we're following that, we're going to determine if we're going to take it up to 12,000 miles, 15,000 miles. I don't want to give away my secret sauce on that. But here's a counter side, and Clutch saw this down in Atlanta. It's pretty interesting. So less than 2% of the country owns electric vehicles. But they put some electric vehicles in their fleet, and almost 47% of their customers drive the electric car. Why might that be the case? Think about that. Why do people not want to buy electric cars right now? Range. It's that long trip. They're like, this would be great. I would probably use it 9% of the time, but when I got to do the 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive, I'm out of range, I'm not going to get the electric vehicle. In the fleet, it don't matter. They drive them out the yin-yang through the week and everything, because when they need that longer range car, they'll just switch to an SUV, whatever the case may be. But then the downside, if you're managing the fleet, is the depreciation is horrific on those cars coming in the fleet. So it's going to be very hard for me to get ahead. I'm paying a premium for the electric. You know, I'll let Clutch in that case test that in Atlanta, but that's some of those decisions of where we might avoid some cars that are going to be difficult to get out in a positive manner. Does that make sense? All right. Yes? So Chris was asking about the seasonality of the cars, and that's a great question because we were the first group up in the north to do it. And you saw on launch day, it was early January, we had snow. So we thought everybody's going to jump in SUVs and everything. We never had the problem. A lot of those people were actually switching to sedans. I think most cars today are so doggone good in the snow that I thought it might be a concern, but it didn't really turn out to be that way. Great question, though. Yes, in the back. So there are a lot of gray areas with this. This industry has not been regulated, so we're pushing the boundaries on a lot of this stuff. You have to make a decision if you want to run yourself as like a separate entity, an LLC. You have to make a decision if you would like to run it as a dealership, fall under all those regulations, but save the taxes. Suffice it to say, you're going to have to do a lot of work with your legal team to make that decision. I can tell you that in Indiana, what's going on, and some of you might be in here today, dealers are feeling threatened that they don't want the OEMs going directly to the customer, and I understand that. So in Indiana, what they did was they generated a bill to basically just ban auto subscription until we can get this figured out. The problem is it was across the board, it banned it for everybody, including dealers. So for someone in my shoes, we have to educate our local or our state dealer associations to understand what we're trying to do. I understand if they got concerns with the OEMs, but on the dealer side, obviously I'm not too happy about that. Yes? Are you talking about when they sign up for Wyler FastLane, are we trying to upgrade them? Okay. We are not actively selling this out of our dealerships at this point, and we are running it completely independently. I would say, in a side note, we have an upgrade program that we also use as a benefit with referrals. So we have a beautiful AMG Mercedes-Benz, real high-end car, and let's say you've got the high school reunion, and you want to make a splash this weekend. You can actually flip into an upgraded car. We just charge you the difference across those few days. Go out and do whatever you want to do, and then you can go back down to the mid-level tier wherever you're at. As we get our upper-level tier expanded, we'll have more of those vehicles. But the other nice thing that does for us is we use those as essentially opportunities to recognize our customers. So if I know it's your anniversary, which I've probably figured out with all these back-to-back, maybe I'll give you a free upgrade. Perhaps I know it's your birthday, or whatever the case may be. Those are those special wow moments you can create with your customers, and for us, there's really no additional money out of pocket to put them in a beautiful car for a couple days. Yes? That's a great question. So the first question was how many subscribers? We've had almost 70 signups. But the actual people in cars lags. What we're finding is you can sign up in less than a couple minutes from your phone. Within 24 hours, you're going to know if you're accepted, and then from there, we schedule delivery. The pattern we're finding, though, is that most of our subscribers want to sell their car or cars before they start. So we'll see a lag there. What was the other part of your question, Owen? Oh, yeah. That's actually a great question because I have this horrifically big spreadsheet of the fleet details and benefits amongst all of the different OEMs. So we're with a ton. We have like 34 franchises that we can work across the board. So that puts us in a favorable position to buy a lot of these new cars. So I do believe that would be a challenge if you're a single point acquiring cars. But you might do an all used, acquisition of your call. How are we doing on time here? We're doing, I got about 5 more minutes. Yes? Mm-hmm. So the number one thing we're going to be checking is our ability to insure you as a driver. In fact, the biggest secret sauce to this program is literally, it's a one-of-a-kind insurance policy. There's really only one undertaker out there right now doing underwriter. Because think about it, you're going in and out of different cars all the time. So that's the biggest component. And then there's a LexisNexis score on your credit rating and you basically as a person. But those are really smaller components. That's why the one case I share with you about special finance, this opens up the opportunity for an all-new option for someone that really doesn't have many choices if they run into a bad situation. And special finance, I think the latest Cox study is around 20% of our consumers right now fall into that area. So that's exciting to me, at least look at. Yes?
I know that just picturing my own dealership, you're going to have managers that say this will never work, and then the second is really to be apprehensive. How do you manage the expectations within
So we've had that discussion with internal training with our salespeople and sales managers. The first question is always, what's in it for me? So we do have a referral program set up for our employees, but in the big scheme of things, Jeff Wyler Automotive Family is probably going to sell about 40,000 cars this year. Our goal is to get 100 subscribers. I really don't think it's going to be a big penalty against us. It'll be a drop in the bucket. This is more of a test, feeling out the market very early on to see if we can build something that's sustainable. And that's the key word. You're going to run into several people talking about auto subscription during Digital Dealer. I think I might be the only one that's actually doing it, so I think we have some relevance we're bringing. And I'm here to tell you it's not a guarantee, it's not a given. We're going out there to see if we can make it work. Yes? Man, I want to avoid that like the plague right now because it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to put some lower-end cars, a lot of pre-owned. The margin's going to be razor thin. The mid-level right now, I'm going to tell you the margins are fairly thin for us. The upper tier is where we can make some money. But a key thing, and I love this, Trip Rackley, who's the president behind the company that did Clutch, he says this all the time, and I think it's great. He talks about that early adopters are irrational. So think about when HD TVs come out. Who of you in here had that one friend that dropped like $10,000 to have the first HD TV? But they were an early adopter and they were going to be very irrational in how they spent their money. The truth is, on these programs, to include us, you get some of these early adopters, they're probably going to be a little bit more irrational jumping in and testing out. I would say that a significant amount of our subscribers are business owners. And I think the reason why is not so much that, hey, they must make a lot of money. I think it's more that they understand the financial components of the total cost of car ownership, and they see this as very viable. Any other questions? You guys have been great. Have a great Digital Dealer. Thank you very much.